Hey everybody, welcome to another video from Homesteading Off the Grid. Today we're going to build raised garden beds. There are many benefits to having raised garden beds. The biggest benefit is drainage. We get a lot of rain in the spring, and if too much rain stays down around your roots beneath the surface of the soil, your roots will die and your plants will die. So getting the roots a little higher than surface level helps with that drainage. Secondly, it helps protect against pests that will often get in and eat your plants, especially your green leafy vegetables, these pests being snails and slugs. It kind of creates a barrier. And then thirdly, it helps prevent weeds. Now you'll still get weeds, there's still going to be some weeding to do, but not nearly as much as pathway weeds if you didn't have a raised bed garden. So the material we're using is simple. I'm just using some old 2x8 pine boards that are lightly treated. They're about 8 feet long. As far as materials to use, that's really up to you. A lot of people use very expensive materials. You'll see them using the 8x8 timbers that are treated. That can be costly, and if you're rolling in the cash and you want to do that, that's fine because it looks better. But you want to remember, part of homesteading and being out in the country and doing things yourself is keeping your costs down, having a lower cost of living. So we like to use whatever we have available when it comes to just about everything, and you can do the same thing. You can use cinder blocks to create a bed. You can use firewood. Now some of this stuff you'll have to replace. We might have to replace this sooner than we would 8x8 timbers, but that's going to be several years down the road, and we might want to use this part of our land for something different at that time anyway. So so as you can see, I've got my perimeter laid out here. I'm going to nail the boards together and start filling them in with soil. I want to point out something that's important. As far as the height goes, you can go as high as you want. That's not so important. But what is important is to make sure that you go at least 6 inches up above the surface. And the reason why is because most of the vegetables that we grow in our gardens requires at least 6 inches worth of space to grow. So these are 8-inch boards, so we're a couple inches over that limit. So that way we know that when the hard rains come, and maybe there's a little bit of rainwater accumulated above the soil, our root systems are safe because they're a couple inches at least above the soil, and they still have their 6 inches to grow. All right, my wife's recording from outside the fence for this segment, so we're sorry if the fence is in your way, but I wanted to point something else out to you too. Since we do have the fence, we're making sure to build our raised bed far enough away from the fence so that we can walk through here. Now the reason why is because you don't want to be walking in your raised bed once you plant your vegetables, and by having a walkway here and then of course around all sides, we can work on our bed from here, we can come over here, we can work in it right here, and the same thing all the way around, and we never have to step into it. Now I'm not a big guy, I'm like 5'10", I'm probably average size, the most average American guy you'll ever meet. But if you're shorter, like my wife, she's an average Filipina, she's like 5 foot tall, 100 and nothing pounds. You could cut your boards down so that you don't have to reach so far and actually make 2 beds out of this. But you want to make sure you can walk all the way around your bed. So here we have the almost finished project. The only thing left to do at this point is the long, hard, arduous work of putting soil in our bed, which is 8 feet by 8 feet and 8 inches high. Now, my wife's filming from the point where I'm going to be digging up the dirt later because she's on higher ground, and we're going to level our garden area out in here by doing that. But I'm going to point out a couple more things to you before we wrap this thing up and I shovel dirt for a while. A couple things. Boards are supposed to be straight when you buy them. You find out how straight they're actually not when you nail them together end to end. So I secured the corners, 3 of the 4 corners, with some smaller wood here to hold it. And then something else I did is I put down a black lining. Now I mentioned earlier in the video that one of the benefits to having a raised garden bed is that it helps cut down on weeds. You put down a liner, you're going to eliminate the weeds. Now if you do it, make sure that you poke holes in the liner. This is vapor lining, which we got at Lowe's years ago. You hear a lot about recycling. One of the best ways in which we recycle personally is by reusing. We'll buy something for one purpose and then we'll use it for years for many other purposes. And this vapor lining we had extra. We actually didn't need it for under the house, the crawl space, so we used it to cover firewood. Well, the winds and the ice kind of battered it up a bit, so it's not going to be effective to cover firewood next year, so we'll use it here as a lining for our raised garden bed. So make sure you poke holes so that you get the proper runoff you need, because that's kind of the purpose of this anyway. And then you just start shoveling dirt in. Now, like I said, I'm going to get my soil from up there, but I want to give you an example here of something to pay attention to, okay? It's more than just shoveling dirt and throwing it in, okay? Part of this is to make sure you don't have the weeds problem. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to take the time to build a raised garden bed, put the liner in, shovel it with dirt, make sure that you're not shoveling in weeds, okay? Like if you do that, just go ahead and get them out of here. Now there's always going to be some in here, there's seed in here, but don't make it any more work than it has to be for later down the road. Do it right, do it once, that's what we say. And then also, something else I wanted to point out is another benefit to having a raised garden bed is that you've got an instant automatic composter. Here's some compost we had some leftover green beans last night. We usually eat all of our leftovers, waste not, want not, and if you're wasting food, you're wasting money. But just for the purposes of this video, we show you how simple it is. There's a banana I had for breakfast and the coffee grinds, and here's some more coffee grinds and even wood ash from our wood stove. So all throughout the year, especially in the winter, and it's the tail end of winter right now, it's the end of February, and that's another beautiful thing about a raised garden bed is, you know, we're still 6 or 8 weeks away from the planting season, and I'm just aching to get outside and do something, gardening, horticulture, agriculture, and here's the solution. Come out here and build several garden beds, raised garden beds, and I don't have to put all the soil in this raised garden bed as soon as we stop filming this video. I can do it at my leisure over the next 6 weeks while we're getting ready to plant, because it's not planting season yet anyway. So I'll get it finished, and later we will bring you videos of us actually planting in this bed. We'll show you videos of us harvesting our fruits and vegetables from this bed and everything else we're here doing on the homestead. So if you like this video, if you learned something from it, please do us a favor and subscribe by clicking on subscribe, the big red rectangle down there at the bottom of the video. And make sure that you check back in with us often for more videos from Homesteading Off the Grid.